When an industrial pneumatic hose breaks free under high pressure, it thrashes with enough kinetic energy to shatter bone. Yet, across manufacturing and industrial plants, compressed air is routinely treated as a harmless utility. Workers who would never bypass a high-voltage electrical panel will casually use a compressed air nozzle to dust off their clothing. The physics tell a different story. At pressures above 0.5 bar, or 50 kilopascals, air ceases to be benign. It becomes a lethal mechanical force, capable of storing immense kinetic energy and generating extreme heat. Managing this force requires addressing two distinct hazard profiles. The first is stored energy, which drives catastrophic vessel ruptures and thermal fires. The second is point-of-use hazards, where directed air causes arterial gas embolisms and tissue perforation. To address these risks, the International Organization for Standardization released ISO 18623-1. This standard establishes a strict safety baseline for all air compressors operating above 50 kilopascals, governing their design, installation, and entire life cycle. We will map the actual physical hazards, break down the inspection routines, the isolation protocols, and the operational requirements you need to keep a plant safe and compliant. Preventing fatalities requires removing human behavioral variables. Relying on operator experience is insufficient. The solution lies in strict engineered controls and rigorous lifecycle management. Oil-flooded rotary compressors carry a specific structural vulnerability. They operate by mixing a rich fuel source, lubricating oil, directly with the airstream, at the exact point where the heat of compression is highest. This X-ray diagram illustrates a thermal failure. A blocked cooling line restricts heat transfer, causing internal temperatures to rise. The lubricating oil chemically degrades into carbonaceous deposits, coating the interior walls. Subjected to extreme heat, these deposits auto-ignite, resulting in an instant internal fire. These thermal fires are predictable. They occur when a facility relies on reactive maintenance instead of installing proactive thermal monitoring to catch the temperature spike before the oil degrades. Moving downstream, the air receiver presents a massive stored energy hazard. Because it has no moving parts, it is frequently treated as simple plumbing rather than a hazardous pressure vessel containing concentrated kinetic energy. The most common failure mode here is slow and silent. Undrained condensate accumulates at the lowest point of the receiver, progressively thinning the steel shell from the inside through corrosion. This thinning shell becomes critical when the overpressure protection fails. Safety valves frequently seize shut because they are never function tested. Worse, maintenance crews sometimes illegally install isolation valves between the receiver and the relief valve. When a pressure spike hits a thinned steel shell, and the seized safety valve fails to vent the excess energy, the vessel ruptures explosively. A set-and-forget maintenance mindset converts this critical pressure vessel into an active threat. At the point of use, the hazards shift from the equipment to the human body. There is a persistent myth that using 30 psi, or low-pressure air for cleaning is inherently safe. The medical literature proves otherwise. This animation demonstrates an arterial gas embolism. Compressed air directed at a skin break forces a gas bubble into arterial circulation, occluding blood flow. Visceral perforation is equally severe. A high-pressure gas column can penetrate clothing, expanding rapidly and exceeding the bowel's rupture pressure. Secondary hazards are ever present. High-velocity particle ejection can cause permanent vision loss from debris smaller than a millimeter, while 100 to 130 decibel impulse noise from pneumatic tools causes immediate cochlear damage. Physiological injuries are blind to operator competence. They are dictated entirely by the geometry of the nozzle, the proximity to the body, and the dwell time at release. To control these stored energy hazards, the UK enforces the Pressure Systems Safety Regulations, known as PSSR 2000. Stored energy compliance relies on a strict formula: pressure in bars multiplied by volume in liters. A 50-liter receiver charged to 7 bar holds 350 bar liters. The critical legal threshold is 250 bar liters. Exceeding this triggers the full-duty regime. Crossing that line triggers a legal mandate. The facility must implement a written scheme of examination, prepared or certified by a competent independent person. A written scheme dictates exactly which parts require examination, the preparatory work needed for safe inspection, and the maximum legal intervals between testing. Compliance under PSSR 2000 is driven by absolute mathematical thresholds. Informal maintenance logs or calendar reminders hold no legal weight. While PSSR governs mandatory inspections, the new ISO 18623-1 standard dictates the safety parameters for the design, operation, and maintenance of the compressors themselves, covering all systems over 50 kilopascals. ISO 18623-1 demands robust mechanical guards built into the equipment to protect operators against fluid injection, loss of stability, and catastrophic mechanical failure. The standard also mandates stringent control system protections. It requires engineered mitigations for electromagnetic interference, electrical overloads, and strictly defined emergency stop capabilities. Crucially, it addresses the thermal runaway mechanisms we examined earlier. The standard requires thermal and vibration monitoring, ensuring compressors utilize alarms and automatic shutdowns to halt operations before oil degrades into an internal fire. ISO 18623-1 guarantees that safety is engineered into the system's physical DNA from procurement to disposal, rather than being applied as a retrofit afterthought. On the plant floor, regulatory design must translate into operational practice. The most frequent point of failure during maintenance occurs during lockout-tagout procedures. Watch this critical error. The technician locks out the 415-volt panel, assuming the machine is dead, but they fail to isolate the residual pneumatic energy. Lethal pressure remains trapped in separator vessels, air dryers, long distribution pipework, and behind closed check valves, completely invisible to the worker. The procedural fix is mandatory. Pneumatic isolation and an active bleed-down process must be written into the energy control procedure as a named explicit step. Zero pressure must be verified before any connections are broken. An electrical lockout-tagout program that lacks a verified zero-energy pneumatic bleed-down is a broken safety protocol. At the point of use, safety requires mechanical limits. The OSHA limit of 30 psi for cleaning refers specifically to dead-end static pressure, the pressure measured when the nozzle is physically blocked, not the dynamic line pressure driving the tool. This cross-sectioning of a compliant safety nozzle shows how that limit is achieved. It utilizes an engineered side port relief geometry. If the main outlet is occluded against skin or a workpiece, the air immediately dumps to the atmosphere, capping the dead-end pressure below safe limits. These nozzles must be combined with chip guards to stop particle ejection and mandatory hose whip restraints, or whip checks, at every single coupling to prevent a violent hose failure. Supplied air respirators present a completely different hazard. Carbon monoxide from a poorly placed intake near a vehicle exhaust, or from an overheated, oil-lubricated compressor, can silently contaminate breathing air with fatal results. The required controls are specific: periodic analytical grade D or EN 12021 air purity testing, a working carbon monoxide monitor installed at the manifold, and a high-temperature shutdown on the compressor itself. Engineered point-of-use controls are the only reliable defense against human error. A compressed air program that survives regulatory audits and incident investigations aligns daily plant operations with strict engineering controls. This is the defensible safety checklist. First, verify that a current written scheme of examination is in place for all systems crossing the 250 bar-liter threshold. Second, ensure that all safety valves, receiver drains, and high-temperature compressor shutdowns are actively function tested on a strict schedule, not just passively installed. Third, confirm that all point-of-use nozzles are engineered to limit dead-end static pressure, and that pneumatic bleed-down is explicitly verified in your energy control procedures. Standards like ISO 18623-1 establish the global baseline for safe engineering, but they do not replace the duty of local site management to enforce the law on the plant floor. To equip your engineering and HSE teams with the expertise required to manage these systems, enroll in PEQ Academy for advanced technical training. Click the link below to verify your system compliance today.